morning, everybody. My name is Alejandra Silva, Director of Venture Cafe Miami, and I am back right here at Hireline's Tech and Talent Conference in Miami. And tonight, I have the pleasure to wrap up the evening with another amazing founder, actually local from Miami. Why don't you tell us your name, a little bit about yourself, and something interesting. Let's break the ice first. Tell me, what is it to be 100% Miamian here, and a little bit about Miami that the people that is seeing us from Latin America would love to know.
Okay. Well, my name's Camilo Lopez, and I'm the CEO and founder of Lifestyle Production Group and Infinite Creator. And something to break the ice a little bit about being born and raised in Miami. Every time that I'm asked where I'm from, they ask from Miami, and they're like, "Oh, I've never met anybody from Miami that's been actually born and raised there." So it's a
fact.
it's a place where there's a lot of tourism and people migrate to, but apparently a lot of people don't know people that are born and raised from Miami.
Yep, that's definitely a fact. There's more people that has acquired the Miami name versus living their entire life here.
Yes.
So that's definitely something. And I want to know a little bit more about the work that you do with your company and your experience working with remote teams.
Yeah, so, we were a video production company first that evolved into a tech company. And throughout the last decade, we've had remote teams, some of them that have had offices in other countries, and then after COVID and other situations like with the war in Ukraine, they've become dispersed and fully remote.
Interesting. So tell me a little bit about the model. How do you work with them? Where are they based? How do you keep them connected?
So they definitely have managers for each department, and I think that's a very key, important need for being able to manage remote teams is being able to have KPIs and measure the productivity of the remote teams. Some of the pros is that people could actually be more productive with remote teams because they have a more flexible work time. Some people might want to work 3 hours in the morning and 6 hours in the evening, right? And so they might be more productive because those hours they have the best energy. Some of the cons is you're trying to manage productivity, and so what is it that they're actually doing is the biggest challenge with managing a large remote team.
Of course. Are there any tools or implementation that you've made in order to accomplish that measure of productivity?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is submitting code, measuring how many bugs and how many features are built in every sprint. Those are the three main data sets that come in to be able to measure productivity. Of course, we have all the typical tech stack of any other tech company, the Jiras and the Confluence and the daily stand-ups to be able to see all the pain points that are going on throughout the sprint. But I would probably focus on those three KPIs and generally building a culture around the vision and having a relationship with the team.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that, especially because Hireline, it's actually a company that connects Latin American tech talent with companies around the world. And I think this is very interesting for their audience in YouTube right now that they're watching us live. And you mentioned to me that you actually come from a background where you had a fully in-office operation in the past. Tell me a little bit about that transition. What have you seen are the main benefits of both? And is there a balance in between that needs to be made? Or do you think fully remote is the way to go?
So when we had about 4 or 5 years where we had an office, and it was an office that was purely surrounded around photo editing and video editing.
Okay.
And so from a training perspective and building culture perspective, it was paramount. And then when they actually had to disperse and be, fully remote because of COVID and then later because of the war, they had that bond from the culture point of view, and they had that training already. So for us, wasn't a big transition. They took their laptops, they went home. I mean, one of the best things is that we had laptops. We didn't have desktops.
Okay.
So, going virtual was one day for us.
Interesting. Do you feel that you had to, once that transition happened, did you feel that you had to develop new skills in the employees in order to be successful, or do you think that was already part of the culture for them?
No, I mean, yeah, they're video editors or they're developers. By nature, they can be remote, which is one of the benefits of being in that industry, is that you can work from anywhere. And so, a lot of people wanted to come back, and we did for some time. But through necessity, we're fully remote right now, and it's working out great. Through managing those KPIs and having a real relationship with the team and having a vision, right? Instead of just working aimlessly on something, not knowing why you're doing it. We put a lot of the why into it, and we have a lot of caring about the team and their personal development as well.
What would you say to those companies, whether they are in your same industry or that they are maybe thinking about transitioning into the remote workforce? What are the things that they need to keep in mind? I think that for you, primarily because of what you do, was extremely successful. But I know that based on your experience, there might be some advice that you could give to those that are considering transitioning into the remote workforce. What would be those?
Well, the biggest two drivers for having on-premise office was training and culture. So I would focus on creating amazing virtual training of how to onboard and how to do the job that you're supposed to do at the company. I would focus heavily on training, and I would focus heavily on benefits and corporate culture.
That's really important.
To be able to have that, connectivity with the company and the sense of purpose, vision, big vision for the company. You're not just here just to do something, but we're working towards this goal. What is that? We're trying to transform an industry. And so that helps build purpose in their work.
Wow. I don't think you could have said it any better. And I would like to, it's the perfect ending for this podcast edition that we've done with Hireline. I will stay with vision, purpose, and culture. I think it's extremely important. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you to all of us that have joined us today. We'll see you next time.